Jaya Radha Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopjana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kanja Bihari Jaya Kanja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kanja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kanja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parajapachaya Saraswati His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parajapachaya Saraswati His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantikoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Piramandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from the sixth canto, chapter 1, next number 27. Sa evam vartamanogyam mrityurkalupasite mattim chakritanye bale naya bale narayanadve. Sa evam vartamanogya mrityurkalupasite mattim chakritanye bale narayanadve. Sa evam vartamanogya Mrityurkala upasite mattam chakra tanye bale narananyave. Sa that ajnam evam thus vartamanaha live bhavya foolish mrityukale when the time of death upasite arrive mattim chakara concentrate his mind tanye on his son bale a child Narayana Ad, Narayana Adve, whose name was Narayana. 1 second, I'll just turn down the mic. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the time of death arrived, the foolish Ajna, he began thinking exclusively of this purport. The second canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam, is 216. Srila Shukadeva Goswami says, Etam Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharma Parnishaya Janam Labha Param Purusham Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge or matter and spirit. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by acquirement of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of one's occupational duty, is to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of life. Somehow or other, Ajmal consciously or unconsciously chanted the name of Narayana at the time of death, Ante Narayana Smriti, and therefore he became all perfect simply by concentrating his mind on the name Narayana. It may also be concluded that Ajmal, who was the son of a Brahmana, was accustomed to worshipping Narayana in youth, because in every Brahmana's house there is the worship of the Narayana Shiva. This system is still present in India, and in Vijay Brahmana's house there is a Narayana Seva, worship of Narayana. Therefore, although the contaminated Ajmal was calling for his son, by concentrating his mind on the holy name of Narayana, he remembered the Narayana he had very faithfully worshipped in his youth. In this regard, Srila Sridhar Swami expresses his verdict as follows: Echat tat tad upalati Sri Narayana Namo Charana Mahatmyan me tad bhakti eva put iti Siddhantopaya Gita Vaishtayam. According to the Bhakti Siddhanta, it is to be analyzed that Ajmal constantly chanted his son's name Narayan. He was elevated to the platform of Bhakti, although he did not know it. Similarly, Srila Viraghava Acharya gives his opinion. evam Vardhamano Sat Vija Mrityu Kala Upastihi Satyadgyo Naranyakyaye Putra Eva Matin Chakram Matin Asakatam Akrada Iti Artha. Although the name of Narayan, although at the time of death he was chanting the name of his son, he nevertheless concentrated his mind upon the holy name of Narayan. Srila Vijayadva Tirtha has a similar opinion. Mrityur Kale Deho Vika Lakshanam Kale Mrityur Sarva Doshanam Baharasya Hari Anugartha Kale Datta Jnana Lakshane Upasite Hridi Prakashite Tanaye Vale Pancha Varsha Kalpe Pradhatesha Matre Narayana Davatye Murtir Visheshan Matim Smarnam Smaratanam Chitam Chakara Bhaktya Samardam Iti Artha. Directly or indirectly, Neil factually remembered Narayan at the time of death. Ante Narayana Smriti. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. When the time of death arrived for the foolish Ajmal, he began thinking exclusively of his son Narayan. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thanks for joining. Nice to have it on a virtual association. So, as we're hearing these pastimes, Ajmal, this is actually a very nice pastime to study and to hear about more. So, yeah, fortunate I get a good class on these topics of Ajmal because it's always good to remember this pastime and many different points of this pastime specifically. Yeah, just always thinking, okay, this pastime of Ajmal, just like a couple months ago, we were hearing about the pastimes of Bharat Maharaj. You know, hear about Bharat Maharaj, that every time you see a deer, you think, I remember the pastime of Bharat Maharaj. And here, there's lots of deers. So whenever you see little baby deer, it's like we were just yesterday, we were down by the river, and there was this super cute little baby deer. It was so adorable, looked like Bambi, covered in white spots. Going by, it was like shaking out of fear because we were obviously unknown creatures to it. And I was thinking, man, this baby deer is so cute. Like, no wonder Bharat Maharaj got bewildered by this little deer. But then, yeah, of course, you know, thinking about it more, it's like, oh, I got bewildered by this deer. And as a result, like, he has to take birth in that body, which is an unfortunate body to be in because you don't think of anything except leaves and water and mommy deer, daddy deer. And you're fearful of everything else. Unless, of course, for him, he remembers his past life. Anyways, a side point. But this pastime of Ajmal is very nice to think about because it also, all of the pastimes of Bhagavatam, if we read them thoroughly and constantly, then when we're in our day-to-day world, we can be reminded of them just by seeing different situations. Like, I see like a father calling out for his son, or like a family together. And, oh, this is like, you know, we can think of the pastime of Ajmal, how Yasova wasn't so attached to his son in this way. Or I always think when, you meet Indian families that are devotees and they name their kids Krishna. I've got so many little cute Indian Krishna kids. I was like, I always think like these parents are so smart, because whenever they're calling out to their kid, they're just chanting Krishna's name. It's actually very intelligent. And naturally, yeah, when they come to the end of their life, they'll have affection for their kids. So they'll be thinking of their kids. As I've heard, when people, yeah, leave their bodies, they get like this sort of flash of their life. Um, Different series of their lives kind of flash before their eyes. Um, and yeah, obviously your kids have come into your mind as well because they are important aspects that you have in your life. So yeah, I mean, you can naming your kid Krishna, then at the end of your life, you'd think of Krishna or any of the names of Krishna. Um, or yeah, like your partner has a name that's spiritual, then naturally you'll be thinking of that'll come into your mind. Actually, hopefully Krishna comes into your mind, not the person you're attached to, but if it does, at least it's the devotee name. So then it's at least a little dovetailed. So anyways, this pastime is very nice to think about, and I really like reading this pastime and studying it because it's one of those ones that um, you kind of you can get easily reminded of in your day-to-day life because there's so many aspects of it that um, are we can see it mixed in with the world. Yeah, I haven't seen any street workers in America since I've been here, but there's a lot of them in New Zealand, and lots of you'll see them on the corner of the streets or walking up and down. But wow, this is an unfortunate life. Like, yeah, I didn't think of this pastime. So yeah, anyways, I've heard some lectures about this particular verse before, and I've heard of this very famous this very famous lecture that I've heard by his one is Devamita Swami many times on this particular section of Bhagavatam, and um, he describes this life, this like this how logically he like lucked out, like he just happened to at the end of his life be meditating on the name of his son, which was Narayan. He wasn't thinking about Narayan at all. He was thinking about his son because he was so attached to him. Um, just like, yeah, usually the youngest, if it's just the youngest child, it's just a baby, the parents are so attached to them because they don't know any better. They're just children, they can do anything. So they're constantly thinking about their kid, where's this kid, where's this? So yeah, and after that, when he was coming to the end of his life, he was just thinking of his son, and he could see him in the distance. He was just calling out, Narayan, Narayan. And Devamita Swami Maharaj, he often says that in this lecture, that he wasn't calling out thinking, I've performed so many sinful activities, and now I'm going to call out to, I'm going to chant Narayan's name, and that'll relieve me from all my sins, so that I can keep on chanting or keep on committing sins. He wasn't thinking like that. He was just thinking with my son. Because that's one of the offenses. That's why he was when the Yamadutas came to take away his soul to hellish planets, um, the Vishnu just stopped him and said, no, he's chanted the holy name without offense. So he wasn't committing an offense, as we know that um, offenses to the holy name. Yeah, to commit sinful activities on the string of the holy name. Number 7. So he wasn't doing that. He was just calling out to his son. Um, and I've also heard that um, because he had done like a smattering of devotional service in his early years, as we'll hear about later in the chapter, it's described that it wasn't, as we're hearing in the purport, it wasn't Krishna bhakti, it wasn't devotional service to Krishna and bhakti yoga, but it was Narayana seva, so it was performance of service to Narayana. Every Brahmana household at that time had a Narayana Shila, so just like you grow up and like oftentimes we'll come across Indian devotees on Sankirtan, or sorry, not devotees, Indian people on Sankirtan, and you ask them, oh, you're from India, yeah, okay, I'm showing these books, Bhagavad Gita. Oh, I'm a Hindu. I know my parents worship, Durga Devi or Shiva or whatever. My parents know I'm a Hindu. Um, and this term Hindu is just thrown around. I'm a Hindu. I know. Actually, there's one side note in Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, maybe it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, I can't remember, but I could find the quotation. Um, Srila Prabhupada said that this word Hindu actually came from this river named the Sindhu that's in India. And the Muslims, when they would cross over, they couldn't pronounce this river properly, so they just moved it to they switched it to Hindu, and it was separating two tracts of land. So then people on one side of the river were called Hindu, and then the other side was a different Muslim country. But yeah, there's rivers. It was just because of the name of the river. It wasn't actually having to do anything with religion or anything in that regard. And in another lecture by one of Mr. Swamis was saying that actually Hinduism is like anything east of Pakistan that happens. Like could be snake worship, could be um, like mystic yoga, could be politics, could be anything. Just like that's Hinduism. So yeah, this category of Narayana Seva that Ajmal was performing, he was doing it in his youth, and he was performing brahmanical activities. And he had done a little bit, there's a little bit of bhakti yoga kind of intertwined to that, but it wasn't the focus. The focus was mode of goodness lifestyle. And yeah, like service to Narayana, Shiva. But because he had done just this like little bit of service, then yeah, Krishna had taken note. And then at the end of his life, when he was in his late 80s, if we've heard in the previous classes, he was still performing sexual activity and having children, even up to a very elderly age. Then, yeah, Krishna inspired him in the heart. You've done some service for me. Now name your son Narayan. And in this way, you'll unknowingly be chanting my name constantly. So yeah, His Holiness James Kami describes this as like he lucked out, like he at the end of his life, even after performing a lifetime of sinful activities, he just happened to chant, like right as he was leaving his body, he saw his son and he just chanted Narayan, Narayan, Narayan in an offenseless mode. And he describes it to an honorary degree, which is when someone who is going to a university, they they might be studying. But maybe they're not doing like maybe they're not doing their bachelor's, they haven't gotten a doctor's or a master's, but they're studying, and then the university recognizes them as being very honorable, and they just give them a degree. And he describes this as it's like it happens, it does happen, but it's like a very rare chance that it happens. We shouldn't be holding out hope that like when you go to university, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do a whole lot of work. I'm not going to do a whole lot of work, but like I'm just really hoping that the university will give me an honorary degree, and then I'll just like make it through. This mentality, if someone had this, we would be able to clearly see like this is foolish. You know, what are you thinking? This is that's a really big chance you're taking, really big jump that you're hoping you'll make. So in the same way, we can think about this in our bhakti, that we shouldn't hope for an ajna. Like we shouldn't hope that just at the end of our life Krishna just pulls through, and we say to Krishna, I've done some service, Krishna, please see that and just like help me, like this is the chance. I practiced bhakti for like 2 years, 3 years. I chanted Hare Krishna, I did some service, I made some garlands, I did this, I did that. So Krishna, now I should be able to just remember your name. So, Krishna's independent, he can do what he likes. Maybe that will work, but maybe not. Maybe we'll have to take birth again and go through all of this once more. So we shouldn't hope for an honorary degree in bhakti. We should um, take advantage of the years and ability we have to do devotional service and chant Hare Krishna and practice, so that at the end of life, we do leave our body. When we do leave our body, we focus on chanting Hare Krishna. We're able to remember Krishna. What's the best way of learning to remember something is by doing it over and over again. Then it becomes just a habit. Like, when I say in this ashram, these our lovely Mother Krishna Mataji would always, whenever she would be walking, or every time she would even, if she was walking in, trips, Krishna, Krishna, this trainers of Krishna, instead of saying something else, instead of saying whatever words we would say before, we just train ourselves, Krishna, or you drop to me, Krishna. Or even when she would sneeze, she would train herself to sneeze and say, Achuta, 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 Achuta. So in this way, everything we're doing, we're just trying to remember Krishna even in the smallest instances. And it's quite sweet. And then, of course, naturally, like, this is really good. So I also started doing this. So yeah, Maybe when you trip or when you're walking, Krishna, Krishna, or a huge spider crawls out, oh, Krishna. So in this way, we're training our mind to always remember Krishna. And then when we leave our body, which we don't know when it'll be, as we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, padam yapidam expectation. This world is a very dangerous place. There's danger at every step. Srila Prabhupada describes that you could be walking and there's a leaf of plantain and you just slip and then you die. And we don't know when we're going to die, as I've described before. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, he's guaranteed that he has 7 days left. And Srila Prabhupada says this is very great. He's got guaranteed 7 days left, but for us, we don't even have 7 minutes guaranteed. At any moment we could die. So if we know at any moment we can die, then the mentality should be that we should always be thinking of Krishna. But of course, even for myself, I do not have this mentality. So we have a really amazing opportunity actually to be in Krishna consciousness. And that we're given the opportunity to even practice this lifestyle. And yeah, we hear about this often, what the standard of living is. So we heard from Srimad Bhagavatam just now about Ajmal, and we're hearing about currently this past time, how he lived his life. He did this little brahmanical seva in his early years. He was trained underneath the instructions of his guru, practicing a mode of goodness lifestyle, worshiping Narayan. It seemed like he had it all together. And we'll hear about later in this chapter, I think around the 56, 57 verses, that the characters and qualities of Ajmal when he was in his youth, it's actually very, very high qualities, very quite an admirable personality. And then hearing how he just degraded himself so much, how he slipped up in his life, how he was walking through the forest, just doing some service for his guru, and then he just happened to come across seeing a low-class woman and a low-class man engaging in some fornicative business on a bench, and just by seeing that, he just became so disturbed that he dropped his whole practice and left everything, invited this low-class woman into his house, abandoned his Brahminical wife, and had many, many children with this woman. So it can be kind of hard to understand how this could happen. Someone from such like a cultural background, and then slipped up so much and fell down. And then even hearing about that, that's like, okay, well, this is what everyone else in the world is doing. So many people are engaged in materialistic activities. They're working hard to try and get money. They're living these lives that are, they're not actually engaging in living. They're just basically, as we hear, if one person is not practicing the regulative principles, these are just what make us a human being. It's one of Sri Swami has said this often in lectures that, at initiation lectures specifically, that the 4 regulative principles, they just qualify us to be human beings. They don't actually make us spiritual. Chanting Hare Krishna takes us above the material platform. But the 4 regulative principles, they just bring us to human life. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So these are just like the qualifications of humans. So actually in today's society, we don't live amongst human beings, we live amongst an animalistic society. And I was just reading yesterday in Bhagavad Gita, there's this really nice section of verses in the fifth chapter called Karma Yoga Action and Krishna Consciousness. And I'll just read a couple of them from with 2nd verse to 13. So it's just 10 verses or so. And it's just after Arjuna, he's saying to Krishna, he says, "Oh Krishna, you first of all you asked me to renounce work, and then again you asked me to work with devotion. Now kindly tell me what's beneficial." It's just basically explaining, like, Krishna, first you said to do this, now you're saying to do this. I don't really understand what you want me to do. Please, can you be a bit more clear so I can understand properly? So Krishna, this is his reply. I'll just read the translations. They're really nice. And I thought that when I was reading them yesterday, they were helping me understand what the standard of living for the highest class of people is, those who are practicing devotional service, the Vaishnavas. And also helped me see it in perspective to this past time as I was thinking about it in relationship to class. So this is text 2 of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The personal Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and devotion work and devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work and devotional service is better than renunciation of work. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, freed from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world of Samkhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to the path of these activities, applies himself well to these paths achieves the results of both. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy, but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. This is a nice one. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy, but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. One who works in devotion with a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smiling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all, because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the result unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful activity, as a lotus leaf is untouched by the water. The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even the senses, only for the purpose of purification. The steady, devoted soul attains unadulterated peace, because he offers all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the results of his labor becomes entangled. But I thought this was really nice, this last verse. The steady, devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers all the activities to me, all the results of the activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. I thought that one was really nice in relationship to this pastime of Ajnu, because you can really see Ajnu sets a very nice example for what entanglement looks like in the material world. Like if you want to learn how to get entangled, then this is a good pastime to study. But as Srila Prabhupada saying in the purport and in the translation, Krishna is saying, the steadily devoted and devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all activities to me. So the secret, it seems, to attaining peace and attaining a steadfast determination and an unaltered, fixed service to Krishna is that we offer all the results of our activities unto him. Whereas if we don't do that, then we become very entangled, as we can see in the life of Ajna, that he was so entangled that even up to the late years of his life, he was found an attraction to having children and maintaining them. And yeah, as anyone who's had children or been around children knows it can be a very entangling situation. Of course, for families who have devotee children, it's different. But children, they require a lot of maintenance and care, uh, and it's a family life in general can be very entangling. Of course, when it's done in the grihasta ashram, then the results are given to Krishna, and therefore both people become very peaceful. So our process is chanting Hare Krishna. And this process is actually the goal of the bhakti process. Chanting Hare Krishna so we can chant more Hare Krishna. And engaging in engaging in the activities of devotional service. And actually these activities, they're very joyful and they're very fun. And the Krishna consciousness is a very fun, it's a very fun and joyful process because Krishna is full of fun. As Krishna is described by Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is actually just almost as joyful to read, if not more, than a storybook. Because Krishna's pastimes are just full of all of the things that we're looking for in the material world. We're looking for drama, we're looking for action, we're looking for romance, we're looking for lightness, we're looking for adventure, we're looking for fun, we're looking for jokes and humor. All of this is actually found in Krishna's pastimes, as Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna is Bhagavan Swayam, he's the source of all incarnations. He's the source of Narayan. So because all of this is actually found in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his abode, in his associates, then what we're looking for in the material world is actually we're just looking for Krishna, as it says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, that actually everyone is searching, and the urge that they're searching for is just the urge to find Krishna. And the whole first canto, second chapter, those key verses, they're all talking about the same aspect. That everyone, we're actually just looking for Krishna. And it's prescribed in the age of Kali, the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga is chanting the Maha Mantra. It's the only sacrifice that should be performed. Because in this age of Kali Yuga, many people are very unqualified. So our only qualification is actually to chant Hare Krishna. As Yashodeva Prabhu was saying in his class 2 to 3 days ago, that sometimes our disqualification can also be our advantage. That because we're so unqualified, that actually makes us qualified to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is non-different in Krishna's name. And this chanting Hare Krishna, it puts us in the category of sadhakas. So chanting, reading, performing sadhana bhakti, as I've heard in the lecture by Swami Swami, that sadhana bhakti is like you do it because you have to. You haven't quite gotten to the level of prema bhakti or even higher, where you've got a taste for chanting and you just do it because you want to. Sometimes that might be there, but most of the time it's just you have to do it. We have to do it because we want to become Krishna conscious. And even sometimes that want might not be there. I've definitely had stages in my devotional service life where my quality of chanting has been very low, my quality of reading has been very low, my service has been slack. And then Krishna just takes away the taste. And it's actually a very painful experience when I've just realized to myself sometimes that, wow, I just have no desire to be here. I have no desire to chant Hare Krishna. I have no desire to do this, but I also have nowhere else to go. I have nothing else to do. So this is the only thing I can do. So I just have to do it. The desire disappears. So then I've heard from senior devotees that when this happens, the best thing to do is to just increase it more. Get up earlier, chant more rounds, engage with more intensely in your service. Really beg Krishna, Krishna, please help me. And Krishna is very kind. He'll give a taste for chanting Hare Krishna. Allow us to experience, even in this stage of sadhana bhakti, even for the most devotee, Krishna gives a flavor, like a taste. This is what it's like. And then, wow, this is so tasty. This is more attractive than anything I've ever experienced before. Okay, I'll do this again. Oh wow, okay. And then he makes you work for it a little bit more. And I remember the first time I chanted, the first time I chanted 16 rounds in a row. I was in Auckland, New Zealand, and so I'd been going. This one associate had been cultivating me. She took me to the temple, and I was like, today's the day I'm going to chant 16 rounds in one go. And it took me 4 hours. And by the time I finished, I remember I was leaving the temple. I was walking out, and it was summertime, so they have like dirt roads. It's like red, dirty road and green trees everywhere, quite blue sky. I remember walking out, and I felt like quite intoxicated. And I remember thinking, this is very interesting because, of course, I, being a Kali Yuga refugee, had indulged plenty of intoxication in my previous days to that particular day. But I remember thinking, I was like, wow, how can I be feeling this? I've been sober for at least like maybe a couple of weeks or a month or two. So why do I feel like so stoned? I feel so high right now. This is very strange. And even to the point, my friend was like, okay, let's go. I got to go back to work now. And he dropped me off at my city, my house in Auckland. And I was like, I don't think I can drive. I actually feel like kind of intoxicated. I don't think I can like get behind the wheel of the car right now. That I'd be safe to drive. And of course she's like, come on. And I was like, okay, I guess do it. And it was fine. But yeah, I just remember feeling like quite intoxicated, which is interesting. Because yeah, I hadn't taken any intoxications at that time. And this is just Krishna. I can see now this is Krishna giving a taste. Now this is what it's like to chant Hare Krishna. This is what you can experience. And then you get some flavor, you get some taste. And then he takes it away and then makes you work for it again. But as we're chanting Hare Krishna, like when we chant on our beads, when we chant, we're like pulling Krishna into our heart. Which each mantra we like pull a little closer, like, okay, Krishna, please come. Here's my heart. Please sit here. Please clean my heart sufficiently so for you to throne, for you to sit on. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this himself in his Shashashtakam prayers. Roll about cleansing heart. Chaito Darpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahant Agni Nirvarpanam Shriyaki Kayavachorikam Vidaranam Vidya Anandam Puripardhanam. So these beautiful prayers, actually, they're quite nectar to study. Yeah, recite them in the mornings. All about cleansing the dust in the heart by chanting Hare Krishna. And yeah, praying to Krishna to please help us in our service. Please help us with our practice of bhakti. And just before we finish, coming up on the end here, I wanted to read this little excerpt from this lecture that I listened to ages ago by Naranjana Swami. His name, it's called here we go. So this is an excerpt from a Naranjana Swami on a lecture on japa. He talks about the struggling sadhaka. So he says, one of the topics I wanted to speak about is faith, that although we are struggling, we should still have faith that by chanting Hare Krishna we can achieve full perfection. Bhagavad Gita 4:40. But for those ignorant and faithless, for the doubting soul, there is neither happiness in this life nor the next. One has to have faith. Therefore, This song about the marketplace of the holy name and how Lord Nityananda charges based on faith, on the faith one gives. Faith is the most important commodity. It is the best thing one can achieve. One actually has to have faith that by chanting Hare Krishna, I can become a lover of God. If one has that faith, then he can go on struggling. Being a struggling sadhaka is not a negative description, not to be taken if being fallen or incompetent or incapable. The fact that one is struggling is auspicious. Prabhupada would often say that one who is struggling is at least we're endeavoring to overcome the obstacle. It is when we stop struggling that Maya, who is more powerful than us, will easily capture us, take us over. We will easily fall victim to the objects of sense enjoyment. But for one who is always struggling, or as Krishna says, Tesham Satatayuktanam, those who are always endeavoring and serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So by struggling, it is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength. It is when one stops, he becomes very weak. So therefore, faith is required to go on chanting. The bhakta is looking for some result, but what is that? Krishna's pleasure. But sometimes we see that the bhakta does not achieve their result. They give up their practice of sadhana, and when they give up their practice of sadhana due to weakness, therefore, patience is required. A devotee should be patient and convinced that I will get Krishna's mercy, whether it be now, 10 years, or 100 years from now, or many lifetimes from now. I will get Krishna's mercy, and I will go on trying to please him. That type of patience is required for achieving success in devotional service. So I just wanted to finish on that note because it's really sweet, nice to meditate on. But yeah, we don't want to become weak in our spiritual life, fall victim to our senses, and follow the path of Ajamila. We want to take advantage of the association and the sangha that we have. Um, yeah, have faith that one day I'll be able to chant Hare Krishna attentively. One day I'll be able to get Krishna's mercy. And keep trying in that way. Keep struggling for Krishna. So I'll end there. We've got about 7 minutes left before the altar is to open. Does anybody have any corrections or comments? Please. No, it's an austerity to give correction, but if someone would like to, it'd be very helpful for me so I can make some progress in my devotional service. Otherwise, I just become proud.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Madhupan Leela, Prabhu, thank you so much. Such a nice class, so encouraging. So encouraging for everybody to appreciate the power of chanting Krishna's holy names and its potential to uplift us. And the story of Ajamil is just so relevant because hardly any of us are always meditating. Oh, can you hear me at all?
Sorry, yesterday were you saying something?
I am saying many things, but can you hear me?
I can hear you. Before I could not. My volume was low. Please continue.
Anyway, I was just saying thank you for such a nice, encouraging class. It's so nice to hear about the uplifting and purifying power of chanting Krishna's holy names. And we can be confident that in any status of life, you add a little bit of Krishna's chanting and associating with the devotees, and we can be purified, just like a Jamila. Fortunately, not many of us are so lost as a Jamila. And so it means that we have plenty to be enthusiastic about and hopeful for. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's a very nice point. Why do you have a question? What was the chapter versus it was the chapter 5, 213? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just something that stuck out to me was something, 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 The verse. I think it's something.
What was the question or comment?
He was just asking about one of the verses that I was reading from the 5th chapter. Where the translation is saying, the person who does this is very dear to me, and I'm very dear to them. I just can't remember which number it was. What controls the mind? One who works in devotion, who's a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is very dear to everyone, and everyone is very dear to him. Though we're always working, such a man is never entangled. That's 5-7. Yeah, that really inspiring. Yeah, that's what I say. I was just saying this is she found this work very inspiring to hear. My purpose very nice too. Okay, I guess we'll stop there. Thank you everyone for attending. Thanks for your comments and questions. How old was the Jamil's wife? I'm not sure. Jamil Prabhu, do you know? I heard she was very young. But,
No. Well, Hare Krishna, thank you for a wonderful class. I have never heard that, and I've always wondered because he was married to her for many years, and he met her as a young man. So how old was she? I don't know. Just I've always been curious about that.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything specifically on that. I do. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I've heard that she was young, and I know in Vedic times they get married around the age of 12. So I assume it was something like that, but I don't know exactly.
Jai, Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Gantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur
I have a
Premanandi.
short comment.
Oh, yes. Devapada Prabhu.
This, as others are saying, this was such a wonderful class. There's so many jewels that you shared with us, and that last point about I think Tarka mentioned it before too, that struggling is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. And it made me think of that analogy someone gave about before the butterfly becomes a butterfly, it's in a cocoon. And if you do a science experiment and help the butterfly get through the cocoon by removing the cocoon, then the butterfly won't be able to fly because it can go through the struggle of breaking out of the cocoon. So it made me think about when you share that, because in the process of bhakti, we can expect things to happen for us devotionally and advancement more than what our struggle actually is to track that. So, and that's kind of like expecting Krishna to just take the cocoon off of us without the struggle that's necessary to actually for it to be removed. So I was saying how that's such a powerful analogy. When we're struggling, we can see that, yes, this is making me stronger. And then eventually I'll be able to fly.
Thanks, Amber. That's a really nice analogy too. Yeah, to think about the caterpillar. I think to make it like break out of its own cocoon. Must be hard, but then eventually when it gets out. So beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice to think about. Thank you for sharing that. Think about that today when I see a butterfly. Hopefully. Krishna consciousness. Okay, thank you everyone for your association, your comments, and your feedback. Srila Prabhupada ki.